Option 2 now, option 1. So I'm going to attempt here to debunk a food myth about when you don't eat, your stomach shrinks. um, Interesting thought there, but not true, as you wrote in the post. So something else is happening there, and we're going to go into that as well as Ghrelin's role in that something. I believe I had heard this term before, but I kind of just Googled to see what would come up. Does your stomach shrink if you don't eat? And it could just be a colloquial term, but I feel like I've read it before in my undergrad at some point, a appetite thermostat, which I've associated through the readings as in your hypothalamus. Yeah, and so, but not just that. I think your appetite thermostat involves the CNS, the input to that CNS, the output from the CNS, and system energy balances. And the reason I explain it that way is from chapter 22, figure 3. Check it out exactly as I explained. Your input has peptides, hormones, and, well, actually, let me start here. Your system energy balances, let's say, the demand for energy or the lack thereof then fluctuates these guys, that then comes in through here and tells us what to do. The outputs are changes in the food intake and that energy expenditure again into finding more balance. We go back and forth in those things a good amount, and the hypothalamus just seemed to have the most correlation to our gut-derived hormones. That's why I incorporate it into this appetite thermostat. So the hormones, ghrelin, obviously. Ghrelin has a direct relationship with leptin. So ghrelin is considered a orexigenic hormone. It is an appetite stimulant. And I thought that was just a neat thing to learn as a root word for anorexic, appetite stimulating versus not having an appetite. So that was just something interesting I found in these readings. Other indirect relationships, insulin and glucagon, of course, and then we have incretins, cholecytokinin involved in our gut-derived hormones, and then we have peptide YY. Peptide YY I thought was interesting. It responds to stretch receptors in our stomach, so depending on your meal size, this guy should inhibit, not terminate. So cholecytokinin is a termination hormone for meals, but PYY, peptide YY, is more relevant to the intervals between meals, so kind of your satiety effects there. Right? And then if we look at some of the things playing into our hypothalamus even more, figure 5, this is 22, chapter 22, 5, we see some of those things coming into the regulation of food intake based off of our control center, our CNS here. So it's the meal that you're eating. Here are our opposite hormones and other gut-derived hormones like that PYY I just talked about. All of those play an important role, but if we talk about ghrelin in particular, its main function is gastric emptying and increasing your appetite, stimulating appetite. Its highest, the levels are going to be highest whenever you're fasting. That makes a lot of sense. But what if I fast for a really long time? So it's kind of what this question is about. Well, if I fast for a long time, it doesn't make sense for my body to keep stimulating appetite knowing it hasn't been getting anything. So our body's going to adapt. This is where our thermostat starts to change. And chapter 19 of the standard text reads that ghrelin actually decreases. The levels will decrease over time in prolonged fasting. And then when you refeed, you kind of have a lower appetite because you aren't stimulating to eat as much as you were before because your body didn't think you were going to get that. And we can see how that makes sense here, just kind of going back and forth in that balance, right? So that kind of explains our stomachs shrinking. I just have decreased appetite because my body didn't think I was going to get to eat as much again. So why would it expect it? Interesting things also read up on ghrelin was that there's a negative correlation with obesity. And I want to hypothesize reasons for that. Maybe it has to do with the fact that ghrelin also binds to certain growth secretion receptors, and maybe that affects body composition. So people with leaner builds are said to have higher ghrelin levels, and I wonder if it has something to do with that periphery effect, because it's on all cells. They have this growth hormone secretion receptor that ghrelin can bind to. So I wonder if that is where that negative obesity correlation comes into. And so I believe that should debunk our stomach shrinking. We just adapted to the decreased energy intake and so we decreased our energy demand.